Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
We're out in the park with all the people who are going mad because it's sunny in England.
Yeah. Oh my days.
Don't worry, it's not COVID. It's just pollen.
Anyway, it's Canto 3, Chapter 7, Text 10.
Canto 3, Chapter 7, Text 10.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
All right. I'm going to sneeze. Text 10. The living entity is in distress regarding his self-identity. He has no factual background, like a man who dreams that he sees his head cut off.
Anyone out there who's had those kind of dreams, please, share with us in the comments.
Share in the comment, yeah. A teacher in school once threatened his pupil that he would cut off the pupil's head and hang it on the wall so that the child could see how his head had been cut off. See, that sort of teacher needs to be spoken to.
Yeah, no, I don't think that could or should happen in the modern day, but yeah. Okay.
The child became frightened and stopped his mischief. And similarly, the miseries of the pure soul and the disruption of his self-identification are managed by the external energy of the Lord, which controls those mischievous living entities who want to go against the will of the Lord. Actually, there is no bondage or misery for the living entity, nor does he ever lose his pure knowledge. In his pure consciousness, when he thinks a little seriously about his position, he can understand that he is eternally subordinate to the mercy of the Supreme, and that his attempt to become one with the Supreme Lord is a false illusion. Life after life, the living entity falsely tries to lord it over material nature and become the lord of the material world. There is no tangible result. At last, when frustrated, he gives up his material activities and tries to become one with the Lord and speculate with much jugglery of words, but without success.
Okay. Any thoughts?
No, it's just... it's funny about the teacher. A bit serious, but funny. But it's true. It's only when you've got tests or miseries that we kind of become a bit sober and question. If you're not a devotee, then you question the meaning of life. Why am I here? And if you are a devotee, you actually start to act like a devotee. If that makes sense, because it's very easy to go on autopilot and just carry out the functions of a devotee, but not really cry out for the Lord. So it feels like every now and then the Lord's got to give you a slap, and then you realise, oh yeah, you're supposed to be. Oh yeah, you're the object, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I guess it's performing devotional service without the devotion. Yeah? Sorry, we're in the jungle at the moment. I think we just saw the Flintstones. Okay. Next paragraph. These activities are performed under the dictation of the illusory energy. The experience is compared to the experience of one's having his head cut off in a dream. The man whose head has been cut off also sees that his head has been cut off. If a person's head is severed, he loses his power to see. Therefore, if a man sees that his head has been cut off, it means that he thinks like that in hallucination. Interesting. Similarly, a living entity is eternally subordinate to the Supreme Lord, and he has this knowledge with him. But artificially, he thinks that he is God himself, and that although he is God, he has lost his knowledge due to Maya. Okay? This conception has no meaning, just as there is no meaning to seeing one's head being cut off. There's a lot of repetition of this idea of having your head cut off, so, okay. This is the process by which knowledge is covered. And because this artificial rebellious condition of the living entity gives him all troubles, it is to be understood that he should take to his normal life as a devotee of the Lord and be relieved from the misconception of being God. The so-called liberation of thinking oneself God is that last reaction of avidya, by which the living entity is entrapped. So just like before, Prabhupada has made this point that trying to become one with God is the last snare of Maya. So here he says the same thing, but he says it's the last reaction of avidya. And what is avidya? Avidya is ignorance. So it's the last reaction of ignorance by which the living entity becomes entrapped or snared. So like that. The conclusion is that a living entity deprived of eternal transcendental service to the Lord becomes illusioned in many ways. Even in his conditional life, he is the eternal servant of the Lord. His servitude under the spell of the illusory Maya is also a manifestation of his eternal condition of service. Because he has rebelled against the service of the Lord, he is therefore put in the service of Maya. He is still serving, but in a perverted manner. When he wants to get out of service under material bondage, he next desires to become one with the Lord. This is another illusion. The best course, therefore, is to surrender unto the Lord and thus get rid of the illusory Maya for good, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:14. Daivi esha gunamayi mama maya durakyaya mameva ya prapadyante mayam itam taranti te. So, any thoughts on that?
I don't know.
Huh?
You got any thoughts?
Never short of a couple of thoughts. But, it seems that what's being said here is that a person should give up the illusion of thinking that they're God and accept their original identity, which is that of a servant of God, and act in the capacity of a devotee, and that this will free them from so many illusions and encumbrances. And going back to using this analogy of the head being cut off and seeing your head being cut off, then you naturally, the point is that isn't a hallucination, because you can't see your head being cut off and still be in your head, kind of thing. So anyway, those are a few thoughts. Your thoughts?
I agree. Chapter 11. As the moon reflected on water.
7-11.
As the moon reflected on water appears to the seer to tremble due to being associated with the quality of the water, so the self-associated with matter appears to be qualified as matter. Purport. The Supreme Soul, the personality of Godhead, is compared to the moon in the sky, and the living entities are compared to the reflection of the moon on water. The moon in the sky is fixed and does not appear to quiver like the moon on the water. Actually, like the original moon in the sky, the moon reflected in the water should also not quiver. But because of being associated with water, the reflection appears to be quivering, although in actual fact, the moon is fixed. The water moves, but the moon does not move. Similarly, the living entities appear to be tainted by material qualities like illusion, lamentation, and miseries, although in the pure soul, such qualities are completely absent. The word pratiyate means apparently and not actually, like the experience of having one's head cut off in a dream, is significant here. The reflection of the moon on the water is the separated rays of the moon and not the actual moon. The separated parts and parcels of the Lord, entangled in the water of material existence, have the quivering quality, whereas the Lord is like the actual moon in the sky, which is not at all in touch with water. The light of the sun and moon reflected on matter makes the matter bright and praiseworthy. The living symptoms are compared to the light of the sun and the moon illuminating material manifestations like trees and mountains. The reflection of the sun or moon is accepted as the real sun or moon by less intelligent men, and the pure monistic philosophy develops from these ideas. In fact, the light of the sun and the moon are actually different from the sun and moon themselves, although they are always connected. The light of the moon spread throughout the sky appears to be impersonal, but the moon planet as it is personal, and the living entities on the moon planet are also personal. In the rays of the moon, different material entities appear to be comparatively more or less important. The light of the moon on the Taj Mahal appears to be more beautiful than the same light in the wilderness. Although the light of the moon is the same everywhere, due to being differently appreciated, it appears different. Similarly, the light of the Lord is equally distributed everywhere, but due to being differently received, it appears to be different. One should not therefore accept the reflection of the moon on the water as actual and misunderstand the whole situation through monistic philosophy. The quivering quality of the moon is also variable. When the water is standing still, there is no quivering. A more settled, conditioned soul quivers less, but due to material connection, the quivering quality is more or less present everywhere.
Now that's a powerful purport, if you can get it.
Uh-huh.
Did you get it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess so.
Would you like to offer an explanation?
Well, if your foundation is solid and based on strong spiritual truths, you don't quiver so much in this ever miserable and moving material world.
Okay. That's definitely a powerful understanding, reflection, interpretation. I kind of understood that this analogy that's being given is really good because the reflection can be taken as real, but the reflection is real, but it's not the object that is creating or generating the reflection. So in this case, the sun or the moon being reflected on water, the reflection is real, but you can't say that it is the moon, and that because it's reflected on water and the water is shaky, that means that the moon is shaky. It doesn't mean that. No, it means the reflection is shaky. The monistic philosophy that's being spoken about, mona, meaning one, meaning that it is all one, Prabhupada said the pure monistic philosophy means that it is one, we are all one, that I am God, and God is God, and you are God, and therefore, because I'm shaky, or quivering, then God also is quivering. This is, Prabhupada is explaining here, this is kind of nonsense. So when the water is standing still, there is no quivering. A more settled conditioned soul quivers less. That's the last sentence, and that kind of is what you were taking on. And what does that mean? It means that even though the nature of this material world is an illusory reflection, and we can quiver here, but the more that we're fixed in the actual understanding that this world that we're in is not our permanent home, and that we're dealing with an illusion, then we quiver less. But Prabhupada says, nevertheless, the quivering quality is more or less present everywhere. So, anyway, like that. Those were some reflections I had. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
She's so happy that she has me to help explain it and bore her to tears. But her realization was much more practical and relevant. So it's interesting how the world works. She has no comment.
No, I'm quiverless. One doesn't get disturbed by the ripples.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Ripple. Okay, text 12.
Yeah.
But that misconception of self-identity can be diminished gradually by the mercy of the personality of Godhead. This is what she was saying and Prabhupada was saying. Vasudeva. Through the process of devotional service to the Lord, in the mode of detachment. Purport. The quivering quality of material existence which comes from identification with matter or from thinking oneself under the material influence of philosophical speculation to be God can be eradicated by devotional service to the Lord, by the mercy of the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, as discussed in the first canto, because the application of devotional service to Lord Vasudeva invites pure knowledge. It quickly detaches one from the material conception of life and thus revives one's normal condition of spiritual existence, even in this life, and frees one from the material winds which cause one to quiver. Only knowledge and devotional service can elevate one towards the path of liberation. The development of knowledge for the purpose of knowing everything without rendering devotional service is considered fruitless labor. And one cannot get the desired result by such a labor of love. Lord Vasudeva is pleased by devotional service only, and thus his mercy is realized by association with pure devotees of the Lord. Pure devotees of the Lord are transcendental to all material desires, including the desire for the results of fruitive activities and philosophical speculation. If one wants to acquire the mercy of the Lord, he has to associate with pure devotees. Such association alone can, by degrees, release one from the quivering elements. Yes, any thoughts?
Yeah, it's very important, I guess, association. And what association you get. You know, you have to really discriminate even in spiritual life. Because we all are at different levels, so, you know, if you want someone that's, got half a foot on the brakes, then you get that. You know.
Half a foot on the brake.
1 foot, sorry.
I think the term is 1 foot on the brake and 1 foot on the gas.
Right.
Which kind of equates to half a foot on the gas or half a foot on the brake. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. You were saying some devotees may have half a foot on the brake. What does that mean?
I'm trying to explain it.
All right.
So they're half-heartedly in the process.
Oh, I got it. Half a heart. Half a foot, half a heart. Sorry. Have a heart, man.
The point is, association is very important. And it determines how fixed we are, or if you are fixed, whether it comes all apart and unravels, because it's also very subtle association, how it works upon you. So, because I remember hearing this from Prabhupada, and when I was surprised, but he said you do have to discriminate in your association of devotees. Sometimes we can be sentimental. Everyone's a devotee, go to the temple, everyone's a devotee. Yeah, okay, respect everyone, show, but you in terms of who you give your time to, who you hear from, that you have to discriminate. And that will be the difference between whether I'm standing tall and strong in Krishna consciousness, or whether I start to see faults, or whether I start to see, like my outlook on life and consciousness.
Yeah. Seems clear here we need to associate with the pure devotees. And that association. But I like the point where Prabhupada says that by association alone, he says such association alone. And then he says can by degrees. So it means even if you get this amazingly good association, still advancement is in degrees. It's not advanced. It's not that just by some association you advance automatically to the highest platform of pure devotional service. Doesn't seem to work like that. think maybe my wife is waiting for me to stop talking. She's already marked the page and she's waiting to close the book. Maybe it's because someone just walked by with 2 big, huge ice cream cones. And she's...
I didn't even see that.
Yeah,
I see it now.
Yeah, I didn't see it. So anyway, at least we quiver. Okay, everybody, stay strong out there. Read Bhagavatam. Associate with pure devotees. Of course, we're not stating that we're pure devotees. We're simply
no, but we're repeating from the pure devotee.
We're definitely repeating from the pure devotee, except the babble that we give in between what we're repeating from the pure devotee. Fast forward that. Yeah. Okay, thank you all very much.
You.
Feels like a frivolous day. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.